Yeah, this is we're live, by the way.
Okay.
Um, and can you see the fun background? We have a starry background.
I see that. It reminds me of like a high school card that you get like on Valentine's Day or something. Third grade.
Yeah, this is Restream. I love it. I should point out, I mean, I'm wearing the necklace I got from you.
Yes, it is
That's
absolutely
Sankofa.
beautiful. Yes.
Yeah.
You're rocking.
So should we jump in there? You've had a year.
Yes. It's been a crazy, beautiful, random, divinely planned journey. It really has
You know,
been. It's been so winding.
I mean, when we met right before COVID and you were sharing what was then a really fascinating story that you had been to Brazil and then you were just about to go to Ghana for the first time, I believe, right? Right
Yes.
before COVID. And
Yes.
so now you've been twice and you've like created an entire business around this, right?
Yes, it's true. I have.
I think you're
it,
like, hmm?
it is crazy, that it just like, throughout like all that, or not all that because it's not over, but be like, even with all this madness happening in the world, like positive things still happen. Like life still happens. And it's crazy that something that's really personal and really beautiful developed during a time of like deep tragedy for like so many people around the world. So yeah, but I'm very thankful for all of the experiences that I've had over the last year. Really, most of these events like being spectacular in Ghana.
Well, so for people who are watching this and they maybe have no idea what we're talking about, they haven't
Oh,
read the interview with you, which we did, which is really fascinating, covers your story. Tell me, let's start like this first trip to Ghana. Like, tell me a little bit about where you were, if you don't mind, right before COVID hit and like your mindset and your life right before this first trip. And maybe let's start the narrative there, if you don't mind.
yeah, so I was in Ghana March 2020. I think it was like,
Yeah.
I think I arrived in Ghana like March 2020. And the whole purpose of that trip was to go explore with a friend. I was working with a yoga studio, Yoga Accra, doing sound meditation there, also doing private session. And that trip really was all about, getting to explore the country, getting to explore the continent. And then COVID-19 like disrupts everything. Just as I'm like, oh my God, I love Ghana. Oh my God, I don't want to leave Ghana. Oh my God, there's so much opportunity in Ghana. And I really loved all of it and I was taking it all in. But as I left, I started assembling kind of like an art export liaisonship, I'll say. Some may say a business, but I say a liaisonship. I'm a liaison.
And that kind of started because so you went to Ghana, you didn't quite know what you were expecting because you said you were supposed to just explore. But
Yes.
then COVID hit and you didn't know like how thought you might be stuck there for months. So wasn't part of your like this was kind of also born out of the fact that you're like there was a little bit of like
Yeah,
necessity there.
there was that. There was that also. So before people were talking about like borders being shut down and countries being closed and all of this, it's like all this rumbling. And then the first thing I kind of thought, I was like, well, I may be here. I don't know what's going to happen. Let me be very quick with my thinking. And that led to selling waist beads.
Yeah.
Like selling waist beads. And it actually became popular. And it was enough to sustain me for a while. And actually, I was able to keep extending my trip because of waist beads. So then that expanded into crystals of all kind, custom jewelry, precious stones, wood carvings. It went from 0 to 60, and I don't know how, but it just did.
And you started with just like letting your friends know, right? You were just like, hey, I'm here. Does it, kind of showing what you were like
Yeah.
picking up and like offering, and that it really blossomed quickly from there, right?
Yeah, that's how it all really like jumped off, because I have a website. I'm very low key on my website. I
Mhm.
advertise, but not really.
Yeah.
I just advertise enough to say, hey, I'm alive.
Yeah.
For the most part, because I'm
Yeah.
all over the place with a lot of different projects. So while I was in Ghana, I was like, hey, I have these beads, I have this, I have that, and people really responding, and that response continued to grow in a way that I did not expect, even during a pandemic. We all hear these funny memes of, yes, there's an Amazon box coming for the 14th time this week.
Yeah.
People are just doing a lot of at-home shopping because it's one of the things that we could do to get some type of release. Fortunately, I was able to help fulfill that need or that
Yeah.
urge from people who are seeking unique things and specific things from Africa.
And the cool thing is, like, as opposed to Amazon, you've over the course of the year have made some real impactful relationships with the artists you were working with. So it's not like you were just going to the market and grabbing these things. You were making specific relationships. So the goods you were selling were having a direct impact
Yes,
on
that's
them.
very, very true. So, like for instance, like the waist beads that I carry, very specifically, I have 4 waist bead artists that I work with. A set
Okay.
of twins, and then 2 individuals who have their own families, and I've been working with them for quite a while. And
Yeah.
we have done a ton of work together. They create some amazing waist bead options for my shop. In addition to like beautiful custom made jewelry, I have master wood carvers who create custom game pieces, masks, doors of all
Yeah.
sorts for people who just say, hey, Tafari, I need this. Can you find it? And I've been able to find it. And I've
Yeah.
been able to like really offer some really unique, masterfully done work. And this is really helping like very small communities. In some cases, it's helping
Mhm.
people in villages. Me going to Ghana just several months ago, one of the purposes of that trip was to record video and kind of like, everyday life for the women who weave the baskets that I sell
Yeah.
from Bogota to Ghana. So, it's really important for me to embed, to understand, to
Yeah.
know, because it's great to have like a beautiful piece of jewelry from somewhere,
Mhm.
or a beautiful basket, or a piece of, a textile. But like, who made it? What's the story behind it?
Mhm.
What's the significance of it? And if me purchasing this piece or interacting with this piece, will this give relief or economic empowerment to someone who needs it? For instance, I carry the Bogotá baskets.
Yeah.
And one of my sources, who literally like lives in a village and works with the basket weavers,
Yeah.
talked to me just several days ago about me purchasing a baby basket, like help pay for a child's school fees and get their books. This child had not been in school. We didn't have money for the school fees. So just like small ways like that, you can make such an impact. Someone. So I like to bridge that gap. That's important for me, and to interact with people who like really need it. Yeah, it's great to go to TJ Maxx and find some things or
Yeah.
whatever. But I think if you can get things from it, from an indigenous perspective, you're really making an impact on everyday people who are very skilled.
Yeah. I mean, so you, I'm trying to think of where I want to go from here because there's so much. So you came back just as the pandemic, like you got like what, like the last flight out of Ghana or something crazy
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that, right?
Last flight. I think it was like March 22nd. I was like legit on the absolute last flight. After KLM, I'm still upset with KLM because they have not resolved the issue. But while I was in Ghana, I had extended my trip.
Yeah.
Okay, was coming to the end of my original time. But I'm like, no, I need another week. I need to do
Mhm.
more. I need another week. So I called Delta. I changed my ticket, got confirmation number, did all of that. Get to the
Yeah.
airport, like after my flight was canceled, and we called for like a day or so to get
Yeah.
on a new flight. Got on the flight, got to the airport, and they're like, "Oh, we don't have your flight." Was not able to get on a Saturday night flight. I believe it was a Saturday night. They weren't able to find my flight until after the plane had already left. There were like 2 seats left on the absolute last plane out of Ghana. 2 seats, and I was able to get one of them. And I'm like, this is crazy. Like, I legit could have been left behind in Ghana, which I would not have minded, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I would have been left behind because somebody else's mistake. Like, and it's crazy. And to this day, they still have not reconciled the issue. But I won't get into that. KLM and Philadelphia.
I mean, so here we are. You just get out of the last flight. You come back to Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
We're in pretty severe lockdown at this point.
Yes.
And you like what happens between coming back, everyone's kind of like sheltering in place, and you're like, I need to go back to Ghana. Like how were you processing that first trip, and what, like, did it surprise you in many ways? Like, what was that like? Because again, that was your first trip there, right? And it feels like it
Yeah.
was totally unexpected.
Yeah, I didn't know what to expect. My only expectation was to have a great time and to learn.
Yeah.
And all of that occurred. But it occurred in such a way, it was just so abundant and it was so beautiful. And I've just felt so connected. I felt so grounded while I was being there, even in a short period of time.
Yeah.
I was meeting so many people who were just like wrapping me up and showing me so much love. It was absolutely much different than the feelings that I have here in the United States. So I was like, wow, I'm loving this. And I really didn't want to let it go. So when my flight was canceled, it was kind of like, hey, I'm going to stay. But I'm like, hey, I need to go. I mean, but there was just so much happening. I really left when I got on that plane. I left with the intention to come back as soon as the borders had reopened, because I felt that there was a sense of like this unknown longing to be there. Like when I returned back to the United States, I was like, my only focus was getting back. How I was going to get back, I don't know, but I have to get back. But in the meantime, all of the people that I was starting relationships with in Ghana during that first trip really started to solidify and like manifest in beautiful ways in terms of just friendships, family ships, and then business relationships. It just really became like really abundant, and it opened up a lot of doors for me. But also through working with a lot of these artists and making their products available to my contacts, to my friends, to people who follow me, largely through Instagram, really provided like crazy, crazy, beautiful lifeline to people who would have suffered in any other cases, because economic exchange was able to flow.
Yeah.
I was people, selling waste seeds, and then I was able to send that money like right back so that people could feed their families. If people were buying crystals from me, that they were feeding many families between Ghana and Nigeria. So the work and these relationships kind of like took on a different meaning, because it was like almost like there was like this humanitarian impact to a certain extent, because you're really giving aid to people who need it and who deserve it because they work hard. And this disease, this virus just really came in and killed a lot for a lot of people in different ways, physically, mentally, emotionally, the death toll, the illness toll, all of it, the emotional health toll. It's just been a lot. But those people who, even though they may have been suffering or having so many other the emotional social effects of COVID-19 at home, and they used retail therapy as a way to escape. That therapy then indeed like helped someone who really who needed it at a very, very harsh time.
So you had the unique experience of being both during this past, 1,000-year pandemic, being in both the United States, Detroit specifically, and Ghana.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think the culture around COVID was? Like, how do you think each country was affected differently?
So it was very interesting. So in March 2020, like when COVID was like going crazy here, like I was hearing about it only like when I called, like, it's going crazy in California and they're shutting this down. I was like, wow, that's, to me, like being a Ghana, it was kind of like, oh wow, you know what's going on? Just keep me posted. And, like the stories just kept kind of like progressing. And I remember one day and we went out to do some shopping. We went to the store, and so when we walked in the store, it was my first time going to shop.
In Ghana?
Yeah, in Ghana. One of the shop workers came up to me with a bottle of hand sanitizer and like sprayed my hands with the hand sanitizer. And the first thing I thought was like, oh wow, that's so nice. That's so nice. They want people to be fresh. COVID-19 was not anywhere. And then later on that day, it happened again. And I'm like, wait a minute, like, what's going on? And then it started to click. And then I started to hear more about it in Ghana. And then like a case happened in Ghana with someone who had flown from Europe. And then next thing you know, people are wearing masks all over the place. Everyone's looking for masks. Everyone's looking for hand sanitizer. It kind of like ramped up like really crazy and really fast, but it still seemed like more chill than what was happening in the United States. By this time, someone that I knew was hospitalized and was like on life support, and it was just like still kind of like perplexing. But then the country said, no, we're shutting down. I left back to the United States to stay in my house for months and months and months and months and months, which was okay because I was safe and so was my family, and that was what was really important. But to see the reaction, even here, to like watch the news, like the local news, or to talk to my friends here, was still much more different than the conversations I was having with my friends in Ghana. After their lockdown ended, the Ghana lockdown, I think, lasted for maybe like 3 weeks.
Okay.
It was kind of like back to normal.
Yeah.
But in a very cautious way. If you wanted to do business or go into any establishments, you had to have on a mask, doing temperature checks, you were washing your hands physically, or they're giving you hand sanitizer. Like there are like all these health protocols, but yet they're riding the public bus, they're at the fruit market. It was just like normal life without fear. But here it was like there was a lot of fear, but it was like a lot of fear because a lot of people were just like dying and dying and dying, and it wasn't happening in Ghana. So that a lot of people in Ghana, especially like more rural places, wondering if the coronavirus or COVID-19 was real. And I'm like, yes, it is very dying left and right. So even back several months ago, back in November, it's the same sense. The United States has since kind of like calmed down in terms of the pandemonium and fear aspect of it. People are really just trying to be out there and trying to live their life and hang out or whatever. Like in Ghana, like it hadn't changed really. For me, when I got back, it was just like it was before I left. But people were wearing masks and you're getting temperature checks, but nothing else was different. And today still, people want to know if it's really real. Is it real? And when you hear that question, it's just like, wow, I can't believe that like this whole pocket of the world, like people don't believe is real.
I mean, it's interesting to think though that like we all have so many different COVID experiences across the globe. Like I think in the US, it's very easy to think that it looks like the way it does here everywhere. But like I was talking to an astrologer based in Berlin yesterday, and they're in a very strict lockdown.
Right.
They don't like, here all I can think about is like the vaccine rolling out, but it doesn't sort of look that way there.
Right.
Um,
I have a friend in Paris, and they were telling me like at 6 o'clock there's a curfew, like in Paris. Like at 6 o'clock, you're not off the street. You got to have an excuse. Like you have to be coming from work or something like that. But even businesses are closed at 5.
yeah. And that's so crazy that Paris based.
Yeah, no, it's crazy that Paris is like shutting down because it's like the city of lights.
Yeah.
But here in Detroit, last night I went for a bike ride and I was under the Ambassador Bridge and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people were gathered.
That's it's yeah. That's
and like wow. But it reminds me of Ghana. Like people are just like, we're out here. The difference is no one's getting sick in Ghana. Like people are getting, but they're not getting sick in any of the race that people are getting sick within the United States. It's still there, but the infection rates happen to be low. But it's still real. The dangers are still real. I know people who've had COVID-19 in Ghana, so it's real.
It just, again, this is a good maybe question from here, but you went like when was this last trip? Well, you were gone 4 months. From when to when was it?
November until March.
Okay. And tell me a little bit about like, just because you don't plan on leaving Detroit full time, right? You're back and forth, right? That's kind of your principle. Am I correct here?
Yes, it's back and forth right now. Me moving out of the country is a short-term, long-term plan. Okay. Sorry, my client just sent a message.
Oh, no worries. I thought maybe.
I'm so sorry.
This is fun. We're real time doing work.
Oh, it's so real. This is so real. I feel so tacky, but I have to answer this. This is
no, I love it. Done. Always working.
Yes. So I was gone like November until like March. I don't plan on moving full time for like several years, but the plan is like definitely like in place because I found that it really does feel like home. It really and truly does. From like a spiritual perspective, like my soul is like completely satisfied. If you follow on social media, they'll know I had like a bunch of drama with the police, like all the time. The police were getting on nerves. It was driving me crazy.
Do you want to talk a little bit about that, by the way? Tell me about like your day-to-day experience and like what it was like and maybe some of the challenges.
Like day-to-day was like pretty basic. I was doing a lot of community-based work while I was there. So I just had like, just like some like days where there was like volunteer work, days where I'm like in markets working with various vendors. Very, very basic. I did a lot of walking. I did a lot of walking. That's why I lost so much weight. Like some days I was walking like 10 miles or more, and I'm like, why am I walking so much? I didn't really. It was crazy, but I mean for great exercise. But my days were like really normal. They were like any day that I would have here. However, when I like left out of the city of Accra and moved to different areas, it seemed that I was being targeted by police quite often. I was constantly pulled over for no reason. My bags were being searched. I'm being searched. I'm being asked to pay bribes of all kind of sorts. Like it was very frustrating, and I estimated that between the time I was there, between the time I left, or the time that I was there, I was pulled over about 18 times. And I know that the dangers are real here in the United States.
Yeah.
Or as a Black man, period.
Sure.
But I don't think that I've ever been pulled over 18 times, like in my life in the United States. So I was just like
Yeah.
really, really exhausted emotionally with that. And for a struggle to tell people that, because one of the, like, you know, you go to Africa, you know, it's like, you know, everyone wants to, they want to hear all the good
Yeah.
stuff. Everything is good, you know, you can't say anything negative. So there's not really pressure to like paint like a great picture, but for me, it's important to paint a complete picture, a
Sure.
truthful picture. And the truth sometimes includes some ugly things. So I use my voice to say, hey, if this is something that you're considering, you need to know the full picture. Because if I know that if certain conditions exist and I have people who are going or are interested in going, and they do, and they may have experiences that I had that I didn't warn them about, that was like, I would feel like really bad about that. I really and truly would. Because it's not unique to me. It happens to many people. And people who live there, people who visit.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't talk about it, but I'm like, no, I'm going to talk about this. The corruption is.
What is the yeah, what is the conversation there around that? Like, you know, did you end up paying the bribes? Like, how do people deal with it? How did you deal with that?
I did not pay the bribes.
Okay.
I did not pay the bribes. Why they pull you over? Like, for instance, I was pulled over, and I was with my daughter.
Okay.
We were pulled over. We were leaving a village.
Yeah.
After she had at a basketball camp that she led, we were pulled over. I had lost my mask, but we were on our way back to our hotel. I lost my mask. The police pulled us over. Wanted to, I mean, he just like chastised me for like 5 minutes, talking about how he couldn't ride around my country for without a mask, and he wants to arrest. What am I going to do for him? And blah blah blah. You know, when they say, "What are you going to do for me?" That's the key word. What are you going to do? And to have my child witness it, really upset. So at that point, like, I had to talk about it, like, even more. I really had to. I'm with my kid, and like, this is happening. Like, this is like so bad. So I wanted to speak on it, and for you know, after I spoke on it and posted it, I did feel some guilt, but I let that go because my truth is gonna serve someone. So I've had a lot of conversations with my friends in Ghana about this issue, and unfortunately, and then it expands out of Ghana. It's not just Ghana; it's other countries as well. But it's, you know, some people are like, you know, you'll get used to it, or, well, you didn't get shot like you would in the United States. Like, there's always this, well, it wasn't as bad as it could have been worse. And I'm like, well, how about we just don't have these conditions? So it's, you know, other people, you know, talking about how they were pulled over by the police because maybe they made a right turn they weren't supposed to, and the police, you know, wanted 100, like the equivalent of $100 to let them, to not arrest them.
Yeah.
So, you know, people are sick of it, but it's like, how do you fight it? Because it's something that's been going on for decades. So how do you fight that? The government knows about it, but what's being done about it? Nothing. So it's really it's important to make sure that you're in situations where you don't hold over. So that includes, you know, the time of day that you may be operating. You know, may not want to leave late at night. You may not want to leave remote areas, like after the sun starts to go down. You know, just as like some really key pointers. I really limit the amount of cash that I carry on me because I just do. I mean, there's just certain precautions that you have to take, and we have to be very honest with that. And there are precautions that I take when I go to New York. There are precautions that I take when I go to Miami. But some precautions are a little more severe than others, and having it prepared to be brought definitely kind of severe. But
so, I mean, okay, go on.
I still love it.
Yeah, well, so you still plan to move there and you're still going back and forth. And this is another thing. So you're working with the artists there. You're doing sound meditations in both places.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
Tell me a little bit about how do you see yourself? Like, what do you love about your Detroit community and what do you love about your Ghana community? And how do you
Oh,
see bridging those?
that is that's really a beautiful question. And the reason why I say
Mhm.
it's a beautiful question is because like when I got back and then like my community surrounded me, I was like, oh my God, I really missed you. I really missed you. It's just such a different vibe. So my Detroit community is really like deep family,
Yeah.
like deep. Like we used to play basketball and all that stuff like since we were kids, and nothing has separated us. That's how I feel about like my entire community. Like no matter if I've known you for like 2 years or like 20 years, I feel that
Yeah.
there's just like this really deep connection here, and I think
Mhm.
that a lot of my friends are really vested and invested in our collective health, our collective emotional health. So I think that we support each other in ways that are like really beautiful. And I
Mhm.
really, really appreciate that. The other thing that I think is really unique about my Detroit family is that they can trust my craziness.
Yeah.
I come up with a lot of crazy ideas and I say, okay, let's try this. And people are like, yeah, let's do it. I love that. I think, the Detroit family like truly embraces change. They truly embrace new things and have like this beautiful and amazing way that they remain open
Yeah.
to heal, to come together, to commune, to release, to relax. That's amazing. My Ghana family is so, so, so different, but in a very beautiful way. With my Ghana family, what I'm feeling is like this really beautiful cultural exchange in a very intense way. Like I fully feel immersed, from people, staying to people cooking with me. Like they're creating an environment like of total inclusion for me, this man who kind of like came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Again, with crazy ideas that people are like, okay, you know what? I've never done that. So, but let me try it. A lot of people have never done sound meditation, but they're like, okay, let me try it. And they like came in kind of like blind with like no expectation. I had invited one of my friends to a sound meditation, and he had like this very, very, very intense emotional
Yeah.
experience. We had a beautiful conversation after the fact because he had never had a way to know meditation. No one ever brought that to him, and
Yeah.
then guiding him through the meditation opened up some things for him. And to know that as much as we know and don't know about Africa, the people are the same as here, right? They are inquisitive. They want to understand. They want things. They want to expand, but they remain traditional at the same time.
Yeah.
But what I'm finding from my family in Ghana is that they're very interested in learning from me as well. So the cultural exchanges are really beautiful. I have some amazing conversations about life, sometimes about liberty, a lot of conversations surrounding African spirituality, a lot of
Mhm.
conversations on religion and the fluidity of it all. The one thing that I found Ghana that I really loved, and I'm learning this through my family there, is how
Yeah.
fluid many of them are with their spiritual and religious practice. They're two different things. They're
Yeah.
very fluid. They move in and out, and that's something that I'm learning. So I'm picking up a lot, and in ways, learning from a lot of my friends over the last year has kind of like opened me up spiritually to
Yeah.
think a little bit bigger. It's been changing a lot of my own thought processes, things that I once believed. I'm now thinking, I need to think bigger. I need to think more out of the box. For instance,
Yeah.
this is a big one. Like, I grew up as a Christian.
Okay.
My mom took me to church. That's about it, right? And then I had kids, and I took my kids to church. We did all that because it was was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Then I had some experiences, and then it ultimately led to me like just being an atheist, just period.
Yeah.
None of this feels right. This is all like, no, I can't do any of this.
Mm-hmm.
And I walked with that for at least like 18 years now,
Yeah.
maybe 19. Going to Ghana just a few times has made me think a lot differently about my stance, like on the concept of God and spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe I'm even saying this. Wow, how did we get here? But it's opened me up. And that to me is kind of amazing because I was like totally shut down. So it's like, wow, what is this? But being able to have conversations with people who have like deep ancestral knowledge,
Okay.
deep indigenous knowledge, kind of like opened me up. And I think that's a good thing because I think, I'm human, right? So we all evolve in different ways. So going back and forth to Ghana and interacting with my family there has shown me that, I can indeed expand. And
Yeah.
keeping my mind open
Yeah.
to learn is key. Trying my third eye has also been key. And my third eye is really what led me to even go to Ghana in the first place.
I was going to say that. So when we first spoke, I mean, didn't it, the vision to go to Africa first came with you when you were in Brazil?
Yes.
Having a plant medicine ceremony, and you, like, from what I remember, you had this really vivid series of dreams, like about your ancestors.
Yes.
And that's ultimately what you led you there. Is that correct?
Yes, that's very true. In the rainforest of Masaran under a full moon during an ayahuasca ceremony, in front of a blazing fire. Yeah, that vision came. The vision came, and I'm like, what's happening? And then the only thing that made sense was going to Africa. I'm like, go to Africa.
Yeah.
It was like, Africa is not like this place you just go to. Like, it's not Disney. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whatever, like, go to Africa. So me going to Africa was originally supposed to be going to Nigeria. But a friend kind of derailed that. I ended up in Ghana. I allowed the derailment, which turned out to be a beautiful thing. So I'm always grateful for that.
When you're talking about the changes, your sort of own attitudes changing towards spiritualism and your ideas growing, do you ever think back to that original vision? And does it change throughout time, like the knowledge you were given in that dream?
I always go back to that moment because it was really a life-defining moment. And then to like lean all the way to it, lean into that moment that happened around campfire, by setting down on the continents, going to Ghana.
Yeah.
It's just really something that I can never forget. Like, it was kind of like it was another starting point to my life, right? That moment, it always plays. Like I always think about it because it's just like this indelible moment. It's so indelible. So I think about it all the time. I think about how sometimes we can have dreams or visions that can really frighten us. They could be, if you don't understand your own dreams or things that come to you, they could be very frightening. And I'm happy that I was in a place where this vision was really not frightening. And the vision was really ancestors and bodies of people stacked on one another before me.
Yeah.
Before me, not moving. Covered like in red light. It was just like this really deep vision. But I trusted the vision. I trusted myself to trust myself. And I'm happy that I did because it really got me here. And it's really, to me, a testimony to say, trust your voice. If something that's telling you it's right, try it. Don't doubt it. Move with it. If something is telling you to stop, you need to stop. Stop. These voices, these things that we hear, these things that we see, sometimes we don't see them. We have to allow ourselves the ability to trust that we're going to make the right decisions, make the right move, or be able to move in and out of energy that is not working for us.
So, trying to train up a lot here. My brain. I just went back to, oh, there we go. Sorry. I was like, you're talking, and I got lost in that. So it's so hard to talk to you about you, not to you. Because there's so much, right? Because so with Sankofa Mind and Body, you are specifically working with artisans in Ghana, and you're selling these goods, throughout the US. And so there's that part of you.
Yeah.
But there's also like the healer part of you, right? So I know you from going to your sound baths. And I have to say that, I've been very fortunate enough to have been to your sound baths before Ghana, in between, and then after. And it's just palpable, just sitting in your sessions, how much you've grown as a healer. So how has that part of you developed, and how are you growing that? Like, it feels like you're able to take these experiences and really share them with others.
Yeah, for me, it's all about sharing. I feel like anything I'm doing, like I'm doing it, and I'm bringing it to whoever wants to feel it, hear it, see it, smell it, taste it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like I'm a life giver. Trust me, I'll be that canary in the coal mine. But I'll say this: while I was in Ghana, I was so busy. I connected for myself. There was a period where I disconnected from myself. So what does that mean? I stopped meditating. I stopped doing yoga because I became busy. I allowed myself to become busy and not give myself any energy. When I started feeling the net effects of that, I had to switch gears, right? So I slowly started to move back into my meditation. I was going through some type of funk. I don't know what the funk was, but I had to like slowly work my way out of it. And I remember like once I got out of this funk, it was, I want to say like late February. It was about late February. A friend of mine had me over, and we did kind of like a healing session. It was like some yoga, some movement. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful evening. And at the end of this, I did a sound meditation. And during the sound meditation, I used a hiking experience that I had. Going through the mountains in the Volta region of Ghana. And I let that be the backdrop of the guided meditation.
Yeah.
And that was me taking people on this trip with me. Mm-hmm. Like, I'll give you the path, everything else is up to you. I think being in Ghana this last time, again, I feel like it definitely made me grow spiritually.
Yeah.
Which I think it's expanded me emotionally. So I think that when I do my meditations now, they're a little more emotional.
Yeah.
Like the last one that I did that you attended, which was at the end of last month, that was like very emotional for me. The entire session was very emotional because I was pulling on the waters of Ghana.
Yeah.
And thinking about that and thinking about like even what I've done in those moments when I'm guiding, I'm having my own visualizations. So, but that's also the beauty of being able to travel and being able to take what I'm learning here or learning there and then transfer it to grow me. And whether it's in Brazil or the United States, Africa or Thailand, anywhere in Africa or Thailand, I take all these experiences to make me grow. So, Thanos had the what do you call those things? The stones. Oh, he wanted all the stones. I want all the travel experiences.
Yeah.
The infinity stones, yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, he had all the infinity stones. I'm just trying to go to like all these places that charge me
Yeah.
me, that I can share with others.
And I could feel like it's, having, again, attending one of your sound baths in the US, having, you just came back from Ghana and you talk about being, sharing that energetically, you could definitely feel that there was something there. Like it felt like I was being, your crystals charged, you were charging my crystal and everyone there. But also it feels like musically you're growing as well. I know I went to one sound bath where you were collecting soundscapes and thinking about it
Yes.
that way.
Yeah, so that's one of the beautiful things about I'm doing with my travel is being able to use natural sounds.
Yeah.
So on this last trip to Ghana, I did a lot of forest sounds. I did a lot of river and stream sounds. I did a lot of tree sounds, believe it or not. And those are things that I will be incorporating over the next several months as I continue to build kind of like storyscapes for some of my sound meditations that are really, these ones that I'm developing are really centered around healing and forgiveness. Because being in the forest for myself, I find myself thinking about forgiveness a lot.
Yeah.
I'm all about peace. I'm all about love. And I have never always been about forgiveness. So we all have our struggles. So forgiveness has always been a struggle for me. So I spent so much time hiking through forest while I was in Ghana. And the concept of forgiveness just always came up. And I had to practice what I preach always. And but it all boils down to it, like I have to trust myself to be open to forgiveness. Because if I don't, I'm doing myself a disservice.
How
I had a lot of emotional conversations with myself while going through these forests. And some of the sounds that I've collected, I listen to them and it takes me back to those moments and some of those really deep conversations about forgiveness and being hurt in different ways of my life that I've gone through. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, so you talked about, a part of that, you say forgiveness. I'm assuming other people, but also, how much was that was forgiveness for yourself?
A lot of it was for forgiveness for myself. A lot of it was because I think that I've gone through things. I've caused pain. I've been pain. I've eliminated people from my life for whatever reason to protect myself.
Yeah.
And sometimes I was right, sometimes I was wrong. So being able to release that weight, that burden, that emotional burden that I was carrying on is key. And it's also a process. Healing in any way is always a process, no matter what the healing is. Emotional healing, trauma healing, physical healing, it's all a process. Psychological healing is a process. And we have to be patient with ourselves when we're going through these shifts, through these changes, through these realizations, through these reflections. We have to be patient with ourselves.
How much do you think that learning to understand and work with forgiveness had to do with your sort of personal spiritual evolution, I'll call it, while in Ghana?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Oh yeah. Can you hear me, by the way?
I hear you.
Okay, cool. How much of that sort of understanding to work with forgiveness came from your sort of what I'll call your spiritual evolution? How do those two topics dovetail in your life?
Very well, they do. Going back to a trip to Brazil, I was at a table, getting ready to have breakfast with some friends, and my one friend Jade. Brought up a topic, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. And the conversation was around forgiveness.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know, I'm kind of like, don't do me wrong, and I'm kind of like done or
Yeah.
whatever. It could be something really small, and that's my problem. It really is. So she kind of like put me in check, and I was like, ooh, kind of made me think about some things. And then, you know, months later I went to Ghana, and then I went back to Ghana. And this influence is largely cultural, but when I had some interactions, or I had friends who had interactions that were like negative, while I was in Ghana, like they talked it out, they worked it out, and the process of forgiveness seemed so simple.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I feel like, you know, I've carried, or people carry things like within their heart that they're not able to let go for a very long time because they don't know how to let go.
Yeah.
My friends in Ghana have really tried to like chill me out and calm me down with that. And I really appreciate that because it's something that, you know, again, it's a process. We're all learning, right? So I'm trying to expand as
Yeah.
much as possible so that I can remain true to myself and really be a service to other people.
So speaking of being in service to other people, maybe this is a good time to talk a little bit about what's going on with Sankofa Mind and Body right now. And you plan on bringing people to Ghana, right? Like doing tours and things like this.
Yeah. So it's Sankofa Mind and Body, like, so now I'm back. I'm back, and over the summer, we're going to be hosting some of the annual events that we do, or excuse me, or monthly events that we do. So, like, you know, with the weather getting better here in the Detroit area, there's going to be the Tuesday meditations, the Tuesday sunset meditations. We're going to still be doing the monthly yoga and sound meditation. That's still going to be happening. The yoga brunch, as we call it. There's going to be, you know, a series of other pop-up events that go on that are going to be cycled around the moon, full moon, new moon, throughout the summer. So that's what's happening with Sankofa Mind and Body in terms of the meditation piece.
Okay.
In terms of the body piece and movements, yeah, it's true. I am working on putting together a retreat for the end of the year to go to Ghana. It's going to be part wellness and it's going to be part culture. So we're going to do some discovery. We're going to do some learning. We're going to do some physical exploration, some spiritual exploration, and we're going to really get a really deep taste of what Africa can be like, what Ghana has to offer very specifically. And we're going to taste all the way through some really good food. It's going to be a great cultural and culinary experience. It's going to be amazing. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm hoping that I can start putting the details out on that at the beginning of May. The trip will be at the end of like November, December, at that time. It's a really sweet spot.
That's amazing. I missed the first part. You said it's being learning, and what are the two components again?
Doing some learning through the cultural, during the cultural piece. So we're going to several historical sites around Ghana.
Okay.
There's several cultural elements from textile production to educational opportunities, just also like ecotourism that is going to be available that we'll, you know, interact with. Some luxury things that we're interacting. And there's also going to be like the spiritual piece. So we're going to be getting into meditation. There's going to be yes that are happening. You know, that are happening. It's a really beautiful place. And some of them actually be a little sacred. So it's going to be a very, very fun experience. It's going to be about a 10-day experience. So if people are ready to have like an adventure halfway around the world, come with me.
That's amazing. It really is like the full Sankofa Mind and Body experience. Because so for those who like shop with you, they get to see where these things are made. They get like for those who do the sound meditations and the yoga, you really get to dive into those practices. So
yes, we're going to be doing it all. It's it's going to be very immersive, and I really think that hopefully it will be life changing for people come and experience. And hopefully they walk away feeling what I felt the first time, and they'll want to come back or, expand their own travels throughout West Africa, very specifically, to see what is available for them.
wow. I mean, did you ever, when was it you were in Brazil again? Because this all sort of started when you were in Brazil, correct?
Yes,
You had a yoga retreat there.
the first time I went to Brazil was February 2019. That's when everything was like, and then I went back in November, and that's how I feel. Because like the first, I was like, well, too much happened. I need more. I need more explanation. I need to know more, and that let me go. So maybe I have a pattern. I go a place, I learn, and I can be insatiable when it comes to with experiences and things and places. So 2 times in Brazil, 2 times. Hopefully this year the 3.
Wow. I just want to reiterate that it was in 2019. Tell me if I'm getting my timeline correct, which is like 2 years ago, less than. You went to Brazil for the first time. That's where you first learned how to play the bowls. That's where you picked up sound meditation.
Yes.
You went back, you came back to Detroit, you brought that to Detroit, you started to develop this practice, and it was from a dream in Brazil that sent you to Ghana. And now you've you've kept growing the sound practice and have started a like retail business. Wow, like in less than 2 years, it's such a crazy evolution. That's so impressive.
Evolution. It's a very crazy evolution. But the interesting thing is, like, even like, my friends are calling me this merchant.
Yeah.
But even being a merchant for me is really ancestral. So, I talked about how I had this vision in 2019 that led me to go to West Africa.
Yeah.
The other part of this is like 2 years ago, I also found out that I also found the tribe in Africa where my father's ancestors, on my father's side, through my great grandfather, where everyone came from, and that's in Nigeria. And they're Hausa Fulani people. Well, the Hausa Fulani people migrate, right? And there's a large group of Hausa Fulani people and Hausa people in Ghana. And I was actually doing work with this community, and they really embraced me as a son and as a contributor making positive change in the community. And they made me a chief in January of this year. So that really solidified my connection with the country, but it also gave me ancestrally with my tribe, the Hausa tribe. So that was like really, that was one of the biggest things that came out of this entire experience. But the interesting thing is the Hausa people or the Hausa Fulani people are very similar to myself when I think about the cultural connection. They travel a lot. They are nomadic. The Fulani people specifically. And I thought about like my own life. I'm like, I can't sit still. Like, no place feels like home. Like I have to always be moving. I'm like, wow, this is crazy. A lot of them are also merchants. They move around selling goods from here and there, and I'm like, wow, that's kind of me. So I think that once I found out where I came from,
Yeah.
better understand like some of my own movement patterns and some of the decisions that I've made in my life to make my life better, make my life very real. And now that I have this connection, I feel like my life is actually more genuine because I understand my past. and it's helping me shape my future, and it's looking really good. I can't complain. It's beautiful.
I mean, there's so that's so I'm like tearing up listening to you. And one of the things I'm going back to the interview we had almost a year ago, and I didn't know this about it's the House of Flying People. Am I pronouncing this correctly?
Hausa Fulani.
Fulani.
Yes.
Fulani. Okay, and you're talking about flight. Okay, House of Fulani. Am I getting it right now?
Yes.
I keep hearing flight because you're talking about traveling, and I'm going back to a year ago, and you were talking about the Sankofa and the bird, and your own life, how your house is right, like in the like what is it near an airport? So there's like
Yeah.
planes flying over you all the time, and this like you're talking about like this bird tattoo, and I'm just thinking about your whole life and like all of this. Every time I talk to you, there's this heavy like flying bird travel symbolism, and then you were like made this chief and, these, of your family and this nomadic people. And I'm like, it's so amazing. Oh, and you have a bird. You actually have a bird.
Yes, and I have a bird. My parrot. And I'll tell you this, anyone interested in doing extended travel and you have a parrot, really think about what's like really going through a lot of emotional changes like while I was gone. Like I actually became like depressed and started like pulling out her feathers. So we had to do like a whole schedule where we were having like video chats. And like, me talking to her specifically when I called. So I never thought, I've had my parrot, her name was Tanji. I've had her now for 27 years. And, she just acts like whatever with me, like, give me the food, give me the water. Sometimes you can touch me, sometimes you can't.
Yeah.
Shit like that. So to know that she was actually missing me was like, wow. She's very loving, don't get me wrong, but I was just like, wow. I was like, wow. So I was like, I gotta get back for my baby. And my woman. So it was two things.
I love that. Oh, what a wonderful note to end on. Thank you so much, Tafari. How can people please state all the ways people can follow you and keep up with you?
Yeah, so the best way to follow me is on Instagram. I remember several years ago, I hated Instagram. Now I love it. So you can find me on Instagram. You can find me at I am Husky Bae. That's HUSKYBAE. I am HUSKYBAE. There you'll find out a little bit about my travels, things that I'm offering, and all of the random things that I get into. You can also follow me at Sankofa Mind and Body, also on Instagram. There is my sound meditation practice. You can find out about my current offerings, things that I may be putting out, maybe like some small meditations and random ways to interact digitally with the healer community. Then you can check me out on my website, sankofamindandbody.com. And then I'm also on YouTube. You can look me up with Sankofa Mind and Body. Wow, it's a lot.
And you're updating your shop soon.
Yes, my shop will be updated. And the best way to stay in the know about what I currently have on my shop is through Instagram. Okay. And then for those who are very inquisitive, you can also come by for private shopping experiences because not everything is listed.
Oh, man. And maybe are you going to be doing, well, I shouldn't say this. You're doing, maybe there'll be shopping experiences at your sound bath experiences?
Yes. There'll always be shopping experiences available.
Amazing. Yeah. I'll have to check that out next time.
Yeah, but then I'll also be having like very specific like shopping experiences with different themes. So because I have lots of really interesting things. So stay tuned. Stay tuned to the randomness and the beauty of it all.
I'm so excited. And I really hope you're when's your next sound bath? Do you know?
Actually, that's been a really hot question. I was trying to for Sunday, but it's too tight. So it's going to potentially be, I think it's the 18th. The
Okay.
18th of April, which is a Sunday.
Okay. I'm there. There's no way. There's no lunation or any planetary transit. There's no other day period I'd rather spend it than no better day I can think of than a day spent sound bathing with you. A very complicated sentence.
Yes,
but I love that you do offer them in the new and full moons. That's really special.
Yes. This new moon that's coming up, I'm like, it's too soon. It's too soon. And I don't like rushing to do events. I like to do things that have like clear intent, clear purpose, that we can all move into with a clear field of energy. So that's one reason why I was like, I just wasn't even ready to do anything. It's just too soon for me. But next Sunday we're gonna get it, and if the weather is nice, we're gonna be getting it in a special location potentially. I don't know. I think.
I'm excited. People have to follow you on Instagram to keep in the know.
Yes, follow me on Instagram, Sankofa Mind Body.
Yes. Awesome. Well, Tafari, thank you so much and have a beautiful day.
Thanks, CV. You too. I'll talk to you soon. Peace.
Okay. Bye.